Welcome to the Hot News Channel, where we strip away the noise to analyze today's breaking stories. It is January 18th, 2026. We have to start right now with the shock that has essentially paralyzed European capitals this morning. I'm looking at the headlines, I'm looking at the reaction on the trading floors, and this feels, well, it feels different.
It does.
We're talking about the Greenland tariff, but looking at the specifics here, this doesn't feel like a standard trade dispute, does it?
It absolutely is not a standard trade dispute. I mean, if you were sitting there thinking this is just another round of negotiating tactics or, some economic posturing, you are missing the forest for the trees.
Okay.
What we are witnessing today is a game changer, and I really don't use that term lightly. This isn't about the price of steel or aluminum.
So what is it?
This is a hostile takeover attempt of sovereign territory by the United States, coupled with the complete and utter humiliation of European powers.
Wow.
If you are holding on to the idea of the old world order, the Atlantic Alliance, NATO, the special relationship, I'm afraid that era ended this morning.
And that is a massive statement. You're effectively saying the alliance system we've known since 1945 is dead on arrival today.
I think it is.
So our mission in this deep dive is to figure out if that's hyperbole or the new reality. We are going to connect the dots between this Arctic standoff, the data we're seeing regarding an imminent explosion in Iran, a domestic cover-up in Minneapolis that is frankly disturbing, and the silencing of dissent in the UK's NHS. We are looking for the hard data that the legacy networks are either missing or, hiding.
And we are going to find that data because when you put these disparate stories together, Greenland, Iran, Minneapolis, London, they aren't random. They're all symptoms of the same thing. A systemic collapse of the rule of law in favor of the rule of force.
Okay, let's start with the hard data on this Greenland situation, because the devil is usually in the details. And Donald Trump took to Truth Social to issue a very, very specific threat.
He did.
He is imposing a 10% tariff on all goods. But it's not a blanket tariff on the EU, is it?
No, and that is the first clue that this is political, not economic.
Right. I'm looking at the list here. It applies to Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, the Netherlands, and Finland. This kicks in on February 1st, 2026. That is just a couple of weeks away.
Barely any time.
So why this specific list?
Well, look at who is on it and maybe more importantly, who is off it. Italy isn't there, Spain isn't there, Poland isn't there.
Okay.
The countries on this list are the nations that have been the most vocal about Arctic security or have, physically deployed naval assets to the region.
So it's targeted.
It is a targeted punishment. It's the United States saying, if you operate in the Arctic, we will crush your export economy. It's that simple.
But here is where it gets really interesting or terrifying, depending on your perspective. There is an escalation clause in this post.
Yes, there is.
I feel like a lot of the initial reporting missed this because they were so focused on that 10% figure.
The escalation clause is the gun to the head. It's the real message.
Trump stated explicitly that if a deal for the complete and total U.S. purchase of Greenland is not reached, those duties rise to 25% by June 1st.
Just let that sink in for a moment. I mean, we aren't talking about leasing a military base here.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about mineral rights. We are talking about the forced sale of a massive landmass that belongs to the Kingdom of Denmark.
And the mechanism to force that sale is to hold the economies of the UK, Germany, and France hostage.
Absolutely. A 25% tariff on German cars or British pharmaceuticals. It just destroys those industries. It is an economic siege.
And the justification, I want to quote the Post directly because the language here really matters.
It does.
He claims these nations have journeyed to Greenland for purposes unknown and are risking global safety. Purposes unknown.
That phrasing is incredibly deliberate. It's not an accident.
It sounds paranoid, doesn't it? I mean, these are NATO allies. We know why they're there. They're conducting exercises.
Exactly. But by saying purposes unknown, he delegitimizes their presence entirely. It frames long-standing allies, the British Navy, the German Bundeswehr, as suspicious interloping entities.
Like they're adversaries?
It treats them as if they are foreign adversaries encroaching on American territory. And, if we look at the analysis from Dmitry Medvedev, which we have to consider in this climate.
Even if we usually dismiss his rhetoric.
Right. Even then, he had a colorful description for it.
He called it clown world.
He did. And look, strip away the insult and look at the actual geopolitical analysis he's offering.
Okay.
His prediction is that the U.S. is effectively attacking Greenland and punishing old Europeans for daring to defend NATO principles.
So it's an inversion.
It's a complete inversion of the alliance structure. The U.S. is now the primary antagonist to European sovereignty in the Arctic.
So if you are the Prime Minister of the UK or the Chancellor of Germany, what do? I mean, you'd expect fury, right? Sanctions, retaliatory tariffs.
You would think.
I looked at the reaction from British Prime Minister Keir Starmer this morning.
And what did you find? Not much, I'm guessing.
Well, he tweeted. He said that Arctic security matters for the whole of NATO and called applying tariffs on allies completely wrong.
Completely wrong. I mean, it sounds like a school teacher scolding a student for running in the hall.
It's weak.
It's incredibly weak.
It certainly didn't feel like a war cry.
You know, if we look at the analysis from John Akaw reporter, they frame this perfectly. They argue that European leaders are being treated as poodles.
Poodles?
Yeah, you have the British PM politely disagreeing on social media while his economy is about to be bludgeoned. There's a total disconnect between the severity of the threat and the timidity of the response.
And it's not just Starmer. Lisa Nandy was on Sky News, and that interview was just painful to watch.
Oh, I saw that.
The anchor kept pressing her on retaliation. Are we going to tariff American goods? And she just kept talking about
Conversations.
She said the starting point is that Greenland's future is for Greenlanders. But she refused to commit to any concrete countermeasure.
Because she knows, and Starmer knows, that they have no leverage. That is the harsh reality the John Akaw reporter analysis points out.
Explain that.
The Danish and European military exercise Arctic Endurance was supposed to be a show of strength. It was a defensive move, a signal of sovereignty.
Right.
But the U.S. administration has successfully reframed that defensive move as an aggressive act against American interests. They have completely flipped the script.
And Europe is just stuck.
They are stunned. They don't have the economic resilience or the military unity to fight a trade war with the U.S. while they are still worrying about Russia in the East. They are checkmated.
Speaking of flipping the script, we have to talk about Canada. Because while Europe is being hammered, something jaw-dropping is happening to the north.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people realize how significant this is.
This is perhaps the most significant geopolitical pivot we've seen in years. I mean, it's bigger than the tariffs in the long run.
So we have a report from World Affairs in context about Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Now, Carney is a finance guy. He's usually very cautious.
Very cautious, yes.
But while the U.S. is pressuring the Arctic and threatening Europe, where is Carney? Is he in Washington trying to smooth things over?
No, he is in Beijing.
He's in Beijing.
Just think about the optics of that for a second. The U.S. is essentially declaring economic war on its Atlantic partners to secure the Arctic.
Right.
And the Prime Minister of Canada, America's neighbor, a core member of the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, our biggest trading partner, is in China.
And he's not there to scold them.
No, he's there discussing trade and core humanitarian objectives.
It feels like a hedge.
Right.
Is he hedging his bets against the U.S.?
It is absolutely a hedge. World Affairs, in context, calls it a jaw-dropping pivot for a middle power. I think that's right.
So what's the thinking?
Carney is reading the room. He sees that the U.S. has become unpredictable and, frankly, predatory. He realizes that total reliance on the U.S. is a liability.
So he's looking for a backup plan, a counterweight.
He's signaling that he accepts a fractured global order. He's rebalancing. But, and this is a huge but, there is a massive risk involved in that.
No, exactly. The Trump camp isn't ignoring this. We have to look at the reaction from Steve Bannon, which was cited in sources from Daniel Davis.
Bannon didn't hold back.
Not at all. He didn't mince words. He called Canada a vital national security interest.
That phrase should send a chill down the spine of anyone in Ottawa.
Why? I mean, on the surface, it sounds like he's saying Canada is important.
No, it is a threat. In the language of great power politics, when you call a neighbor a vital national security interest, you are stripping them of their agency.
You're saying they're part of your sphere of influence?
Bannon is implying that if Canada pivots to China or allows Chinese influence in the Arctic, the U.S. might not stop at Greenland. He explicitly linked Canada to hemispheric defense.
So he's essentially saying, you are part of our security perimeter, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. Connect this to the bigger picture. Bannon is comparing Canada, potentially, to Ukraine, a border state shifting alliances that triggers a superpower intervention.
Wow.
If Canada is a vital national security interest, that implies the U.S. reserves the right to intervene to secure it. Carney is walking a tightrope over a volcano.
He's trying to gain leverage but risks.
He risks triggering an aggressive U.S. response that challenges Canadian sovereignty directly.
And amidst all this, tariffs, annexation threats, shifting alliances, the potential breakdown of NATO, there is this surreal, almost hallucinogenic distraction floating around.
Oh, you have to bring it up.
I almost hesitate to because it sounds so crazy, but multiple sources are reporting it.
It's part of the landscape. You can't ignore it.
We've seen reports from George Galloway and Alex Christofor mentioning rumors that Trump might use his upcoming FIFA World Cup speech to announce contact with aliens.
It sounds absurd, right? It's clown world again. You want to laugh at it.
I do.
But in terms of information warfare, you have to admire the brilliance of it.
How so? I mean, is it just a distraction?
It's the ultimate distraction. If you are about to dismantle NATO, ruin the economies of your allies, and potentially invade an island, what better way to consume the entire media cycle than with the biggest story in human history?
Right.
Whether it's true or, and this is more likely, a massive psyop, it keeps everyone looking at the sky while the map is being redrawn on the ground.
It just sucks all the oxygen out of the room.
All of it. No one is talking about tariffs if the president is talking about little green men.
Okay, so we have the Arctic melting down politically. We have aliens as a potential distraction. But I want to shift gears to where the heat is very literal. Let's talk about Iran. Because the narrative coming out of Washington is pause, diplomacy, restraint. But the reality on the ground seems to be a bloodbath.
This is where we need to be very, very careful with that pause narrative.
Yeah.
The media is selling a story of diplomatic restraint. The data suggests something else entirely.
Let's start with the human cost, because that often gets buried under the geopolitical strategy talk.
It always does.
We have harrowing details from Roya Bormond, featured on Frank Dorat. She describes a crackdown that is unprecedented in its brutality, and she mentioned a specific weapon.
The Dushka.
Right. For our listeners who might not be military buffs, what is a Dushka?
It's a Soviet-era heavy machine gun, 12.7 millimeter. It's designed to shoot down airplanes or punch through light armored vehicles.
A huge weapon.
It fires about 600 rounds a minute. It's an anti-aircraft gun, essentially.
And Bormond reports they are using these on protesters.
They are using them on crowds. They aren't just shooting protesters, they are shredding them. Boromon notes that families are being killed together in their cars.
In their cars.
Just imagine that. You're driving with your family, and a round designed to take down a helicopter tears through your vehicle.
It sounds like collective punishment.
It is. It creates a psychology of terror where no one is safe, not even in transit. It sends a message. Do not go outside, do not move, do not resist.
And the spark for this round of protests isn't just ideology, it's survival. I think that's a really important distinction here.
It is the key distinction.
Boromon provides some stark economic context. The Iranian currency, the rial, has collapsed. She mentioned that the price of basics like chicken or yogurt jumped 17% in a single week.
And that is the key. When you have hyperinflation on food staples, the demographic of the protest changes completely.
Also,
It's not just students or intellectuals anymore. Boromon points out that the bazaar, the tradespeople, the shopkeepers, are joining the protests.
and that's significant.
Historically, the bazaar has been the backbone of the regime. But when they can't restock their mobile phone shops or afford bread, their loyalty breaks. The regime is in a different kind of danger now.
So the regime is wobbling, the people are in the streets, and usually this is when the U.S. would be intensifying pressure, maybe with airstrikes. But we are seeing a pause. Why?
And that brings us to the failed intelligence operation. We have analysis from Larry Johnson via Jackson Hinkle and Daniel Davis. He claims that a joint CIA-Mossad operation kicked off on December 28th, and it failed spectacularly.
Veiled how? What was the objective?
Johnson's analysis suggests they attempted to instigate a rapid collapse or a specific tactical objective, and they just ran into a brick wall.
So this is the hidden truth behind the pause.
Exactly. The narrative is, we are giving diplomacy a chance. Johnson's analysis suggests the reality is, we got a bloody nose and we ran out of ammo.
Literally ran out of ammo.
Or I saw the Financial Times report, and again, this is the Financial Times, a very establishment source, not some blog reporting that Israel is critically short on 120 millimeter shells.
You can't fight a war without shells.
It's basic logistics. Military sources are claiming the U.S. needs time to move assets into place.
So if you connect those dots, the pause in U.S. strikes isn't mercy. It's logistics. They are reloading.
Precisely. They are reloading. And while they reload, they are letting the internal pressure in Iran, the economic collapse, the hunger, the duchkas soften up the target.
It's cynical.
It's cynical, but it's strategic.
But the rhetoric hasn't softened. I mean, we have Lindsey Graham using terms like gazifying Iran.
Gazifying.
It's a terrifying word. What does that even mean?
It means turning Iran into Gaza. Total infrastructure destruction. Leveling cities. That implies a level of warfare that goes beyond regime change and into the realm of, annihilation.
But, and this is the big question, does the U.S. industrial base even support that? If we are already running out of 120-millimeter shells, can we actually gazify a country the size of Iran?
And that is the crucial point, Larry Johnson argues. He believes the West is exhausted. Our industrial base has been hollowed out.
So we're writing checks our factories can't cash.
We might be witnessing a superpower that is barking loudly because it has lost its bite. We can threaten total destruction, but do we have the manufacturing capacity to deliver it over a sustained campaign? The data suggests we don't.
It's a terrifying prospect. A wounded empire lashing out, threatening annihilation while its own supply lines are drying up. And that theme of lashing out and, covering up weakness brings us back home. Because while the U.S. is projecting force abroad, there is a war on truth happening right here in Minneapolis.
This is where the hot news really burns. Because this isn't geopolitics in a faraway land. This is happening on American streets.
Let's lay out the facts of the January 7th shooting in Minneapolis. We had an ICE agent, Jonathan Ross. He shot and killed Renee Good.
And we need to be very clear about who Renee Good was. She was unarmed. She was a mother. She was a legal observer.
She wasn't a threat.
She was not a threat.
And immediately, the machine kicked into gear to protect the state agent. I want to contrast the official narrative with what our own eyes can see.
Okay.
CBS News ran a report. The headline was focused on the agent. They claimed Ross suffered internal bleeding.
Agent injured. Internal bleeding. It paints a very specific picture, doesn't it?
It does.
It suggests a desperate physical struggle, a fight for life where lethal force was the only option left. It makes the shooting look like self-defense.
But then we have the footage. Due dissidents and Brian Tyler Cohen have broken this down frame by frame. And if you haven't seen this footage, you need to find it.
And what does it show?
Because it contradicts the CBS report entirely. It shows Ross walking away from the shooting. He holsters his weapon. He looks calm. And then, this is the detail that gets me, he pulls out his phone.
His phone?
He checks his phone using his shooting hand.
The same hand he fired the gun with to scroll on his phone.
Yes, without any sign of distress, no clutching his side, no doubling over, nothing.
You don't casually check your texts or call your supervisor with a steady hand if you are suffering from internal bleeding severe enough to justify lethal force.
No.
The visual evidence makes the official narrative look like a complete fabrication.
So why is CBS reporting it? Why is a major legacy network running a headline about internal bleeding when the video shows a guy, checking his emails?
And that is the structural shift we need to understand. This isn't just a mistake. It isn't just sloppy journalism.
It's a capture.
It is a capture. Look at the ownership. Larry Ellison, a staunch ally of the administration, acquires Paramount and CBS. He appoints Bari Weiss as editor-in-chief.
And Weiss has a history of being, let's just say, aligned with certain state narratives.
She does. And her role here, according to the analysis from Due Dissidents, is to launder the administration's excuses. She is turning a legacy news network into a PR firm for state violence.
So the job changes.
The network's job is no longer to ask why when the state kills a citizen, but to provide the alibi. He had internal bleeding.
And the degradation of the network is palpable. It's not just the news, it's the culture of the place. We have reports of this Whiskey Fridays concept.
Triley. Oh, God, Whiskey Fridays. It sounds like a frat house.
It does. It was a proposed segment where host Tony DeCouple would drink on air. The idea was to appeal to anti-woke audiences.
I saw this.
They even mocked up a fake Jack Daniels banner to hang on the set.
Which the brand, Jack Daniels, immediately denied any involvement in, by the way. They didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
But think about what that says. You are trying to turn the evening news into a variety hour. It's farce. But it's dangerous farce because it delegitimizes the very idea of serious journalism.
But here's the glimmer of hope in this. The audience isn't buying it.
Not at all.
We have the numbers from Variety. CBS Evening News is down 23% in the key demographic in DeCouple's first week. That is a cratering.
It's a total rejection. People are smarter than they think.
And they tried to spin it. They claimed digital growth. But Jew dissidents looked at the actual numbers on their platform, the flagship interview with the president. How many views do you think it got?
A presidential interview on a major network, it should be millions.
56,000 views.
66. That is less than a teenager playing video games gets on a Tuesday afternoon.
I know.
In a country of 330 million, that is catastrophic. It shows that people are tuning out the legacy propaganda. They know they're being lied to about the internal bleeding, and they are turning it off.
But the danger is, as they lose the audience, they don't pivot back to truth. They double down on control.
Yes.
Stop trying to persuade and start trying to enforce.
Which is the perfect segue to our final deep dive segment, the control of information. We're seeing this in the U.S. with CBS, but it is systemic across the Atlantic. Let's look at the U.K. and the NHS.
This is an insidious development because it weaponizes healthcare. I mean, we usually think of the doctor's office as a neutral space.
Not anymore. It's becoming a political battlefield.
British Health Secretary Wes Streeting has issued a directive for the NHS to adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism.
Right.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a standard anti-racism measure. Who could object to that?
But you have to look at the application. Dr. Ranjit, speaking on the Crispin Flintoff show, calls this what it is, a gag order.
Explain that. How does a definition become a gag order?
Because the IHRA definition is controversial. Many scholars, including Jewish scholars, argue it conflates legitimate criticism of the Israeli government or its military policies with anti-Semitism. By embedding this specific definition into the NHS regulatory framework, you create a mechanism to punish staff.
Punish them how?
You can strip their medical licenses. If a doctor or nurse speaks out against what they see as war crimes in Gaza or criticizes British foreign policy supporting it, they can now be flagged for violating NHS standards on racism.
Wow.
Dr. Ranjit mentioned Dr. Ghassan Abu Sitta specifically as a target.
Right, the reconstructive surgeon who was working in Gaza.
Exactly. He witnessed the war firsthand. He speaks about what he saw. If you can threaten a doctor's livelihood, their ability to practice medicine, because of their political speech regarding a foreign state, you have effectively silenced the entire medical community.
It's a purge.
It is a way to purge the institutions of dissenters. You filter out anyone with a conscience who refuses to toe the line.
And while they silence the critics, they are monetizing the peace. We have details on Trump's new peace board for Gaza.
The peace board, it sounds lovely, doesn't it? Very humanitarian.
Until you look at the members. Steve Witkoff as envoy, a real estate guy. Jared Kushner, Tony Blair, and crucially, no Palestinians.
It is peace without the people. It's a boardroom meeting about a property where the tenants have been evicted.
But here's the kicker. Sourced from Jatika Reporter, there's a buy-in, a literal price tag.
Of course there is.
If countries like India or Canada want a seat at this table, it costs $1 billion.
It is the ultimate transaction. We are moving from a world of diplomacy to a world of pay-to-play. It frames the reconstruction of a destroyed territory as a real estate opportunity.
It's the monetization of genocide.
That's exactly what it is. You destroy it, then you charge your allies $1 billion for the right to help rebuild it on your terms.
And if you try to report on the darker underbelly of these power brokers, you get the Ryan Grimm treatment.
The feud between Ryan Grimm of Dropsite News and Jake Tapper is incredibly revealing about the state of American media right now.
Tapper shared a post calling Dropsite News an anti-American terrorist mouthpiece. That is heavy language.
It's insane.
Why? Because they were reporting on Jeffrey Epstein.
But not just the usual Epstein stories. They were reporting on his ties to Israeli intelligence.
And this connects right back to the control of information. Why is the media like Tapper, like CBS, so aggressive in suppressing the Epstein files now? He's dead. Maxwell is in jail. Why does it still matter so much?
Because the files don't just show corruption. They show the mechanics of control. The Young Turks and Zeteo analysis points out that the files show Epstein wasn't just a trafficker. He was an intermediary for weapons sales. He was a back channel for diplomatic negotiations.
And the sources suggest he was an intelligence asset.
Almost certainly for Mossad, possibly for the CIA as well. He was gathering compromat blackmail material on the most powerful people in the world.
So when Tapper attacks Grimm, he isn't defending journalism.
No. He's defending the intelligence community. He is enforcing the red line. You can talk about the sex scandal, maybe. You can call him a pervert.
But you can't talk about...
You cannot talk about the intelligence operation that used sexual blackmail to control politicians. That is the forbidden zone. And Dropsite News walked right into it, so the attack dogs were sent out.
Okay, let's pull this all together. We have covered a lot of ground today. We have tariffs that are dismantling NATO to buy Greenland. We have Canada pivoting to China to avoid being, well, absorbed. We have potential war in Iran fueled by desperate economics and logistics failures. We have domestic shootings covered up by a captured media. And we have the monetization of peace in Gaza while silencing doctors. So what does this all mean?
If we synthesize this, we're seeing the end of the rule of law and the total embrace of the rule of force.
Explain that.
For decades, the West imperfectly, yes, always imperfectly operated under a guise of institutions. NATO, the free press, medical neutrality, the UN.
The guardrails.
These were the guardrails. They provided a framework where rules mattered more than raw strength. What we are seeing today from Greenland to Minneapolis is the dismantling of those guardrails.
The U.S. is willing to treat Canada and the U.K. as hostiles over resources. It is willing to weaponize the media to cover up state violence at home.
Precisely. If the law doesn't matter when an ICE agent shoots a woman, and international law doesn't matter when you want to buy Greenland, and medical ethics don't matter when you want to silence a doctor, then what is left?
How?
Raw, naked power. The West is eating itself. It is dismantling the very institutions it claims to uphold.
And the provocative thought.
The thought I want to leave you with is this. If the U.S. is cannibalizing its own allies and lying to its own citizens to maintain dominance, who is actually left to protect the world order?
That is the question, and I don't think we're going to like the answer.
I fear you're right. The vacancy at the top is being filled by chaos.
The one thing you need to remember this week, the old alliances are dead. Whether it's a 10% tariff on Europe or the $1 billion price tag for a seat at the Gaza Peace Board, everything is now a transaction, and the currency is submission. If you found this analysis valuable, hit the plus or follow button on your podcast app and give us a like. Subscribe to the Hot News channel for more deep dives. Until we meet again, goodbye.